Okay, so at the very beginning, I mentioned that this is a programming class. Visual Basic itself is a programming language. Now, I'm sure that each one of you has heard about programming. Maybe you guys know a lot of programming, but I just want to introduce and define what programming is and how do programmers operate, how do they do their work. So, programming itself is basically a set of directions which you need to give to a computer, a smartphone, anything which we consider intelligent, so that it does a certain thing, it does a certain set of tasks. Believe it or not, you might think like your smartphone is very intelligent because there might be Siri in it or something you can talk to and give directions that will give you an instant solution. But these devices are stupid. Stupid because they don't have any intelligence of their own. Whatever intelligence you think they have was basically given to it by some other human, which we call a programmer. So they have to be told exactly what to do and how to do it. They have to be spoon fed the set of tasks they have to do. And that's where programmers come in. These are the brains behind what you encounter, all the gadgets you encounter around you each day. The programmers basically they are handed a project or they take upon themselves some sort of project which um, is basically a set of problems and a set of criteria for the solution. They set the criteria themselves, or the company says them, okay. For example, suppose Google. Right now is trying to develop driverless car. So this has a lot of sensors, a lot of programs, a lot of algorithms, which are basically programming concepts. And Google has so many programmers out there trying to make this dream of a driverless car happen. So this is just an example. So this project, the programmer first has to understand what exactly is the problem and what exactly is needed as a solution. And they have to analyze the problem in minute detail, like analyze, break up the problem into small parts and then find a solution and then integrate the whole thing together. So analyze, devise a solution, and once they have the big picture of the solution in their head, now they have to figure out how to how to transfer this solution so that the computer or whatever device um, can take the problem and implement the solution the programmer has thought of. And that's where the programming or the programming languages come in, because this is a language with which the programmer communicates with the device, the computer, laptop, whatever. So they have to program using these codes to make the computer function. So skills, what kind of skills or attributes the programmer has to have? The programmer first and foremost has to think very logically. This uh, this approach might be very different to the approach you might use for your day-to-day problem solving, and we'll go through this approach throughout this class. Besides logical thinking, you have to pay a lot of attention to detail while developing your program, because very small things can cause the whole um, the whole solution to malfunction, the computer not being able to do what it's supposed to do. Example, like if in your coding, if you're not case sensitive, which Basically means instead of a small a or a small letter, you actually type the capital version of the letter. That even that small thing can cause the whole program to crash. So, as an example, I'm trying to say that the programmer has to always pay attention to detail. Now, the good thing about the detail thing is that all the programming languages or interfaces, they are made as user friendly as possible so that they can try to communicate with the programmer that, oh, that is wrong. So the detail part the computer is learning to handle, but still while coding, this skill is very important. And finally, a programmer has to be very persistent and has to have a lot of patience. Um, when you tackle a problem, more often than not, you don't get to find a solution at the first time. The first time you might be thinking, I cannot do this. This is way too hard for me. There's no way that this makes sense. Any solution makes sense. But if you keep at it, if you keep at this problem, maybe not the first time, not the second time, not the third time, maybe even the fourth or fifth time, you might think, oh, wait, I can do it like this. I've been going at it all wrong the whole time. And that, my friends, happens most of the time. Um, and that's when you feel very satisfied. You spend all this time trying to think this through. So, as you already thought about it, these are skills which you have to develop yourself. These are skills which cannot be taught. You have to be focused on your objective and um, basically try to have at it. Stay focused on your target. And so, at this point of time, you might be wondering, like, why should I learn this? Why should I spend time learning how to code, how to program? Because I know there are students from various backgrounds trying to learn this course: industrial management, networking, engineering. So, my answer to you is, I mean, there's an obvious answer. You need to take this class for getting a degree. I'm assuming that. But that's not my answer. My answer is that if you learn how to program in any language, Visual Basic, C, whatever, you gain a set of skills. You learn how to think logically, which will be very useful in your career. And besides that, programming will you will encounter that almost everywhere. Whenever you try to handle a gadget, whenever you have to try to like handle any sort of program like Microsoft Office, AutoCAD, Photoshop, MATLAB. These are very, very common programs which every engineer or anyone related anyhow to engineering needs to use. And there are certain aspects where you have to program. As an example, macros and scripts are out there in all these applications and all these softwares, and more often than not, you'll encounter Visual Basic type of programming, JavaScript, C. And so, if you learn how to do this, if you learn how to think like a programmer, believe me, it will come in very handy in the future.